Hello? Hello?
Hi.
I hope it's a lot better this time.
Okay, great. All right, sounds good.
Yeah,
I hope so too, yeah.
yeah. So someone, please, I'm sorry that we've not been engaging with the audience because we're trying to
Yeah.
like do so much. There'll be questions after like our exchange. We want to
Okay.
go for like 40 minutes straight, then
Okay.
try to get all the questions and take questions for like 15, 20 minutes and we'll
Okay.
be done. So please
Sounds good.
pardon me that we are not interacting with the comments that are streaming in, but if you have questions, you'll be given the opportunity to ask. So you can send your questions from like the 40th minute. I think we still have like 37 minutes on the clock. Yes, I'm sorry about that. Layo,
No
you can
worries.
continue. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I think I was asking about balancing all the different interests.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely hard, and that's why sometimes a lot of these negotiations they go on for a long time, and then the bigger the party, the more people you need to get input from, right? Because there's different stakeholders, and so it's just the balance, and it's something that you learn with experience, and trying to balance the interests of all party and making sure really what you're trying to get to the core is what is it that you really want and what is it that you're willing to give away, right? And just trying to play at that. And so
So that
it's
requires
difficult, but you
having a
do it.
special skill as well. You have to be a good negotiator, being
Absolutely.
able to arrive at a consensus, give and take, arriving at a win-win situation. I think we're taught in law school, the art of negotiation and all of that. So um, that should also be one of the skill sets that young lawyers should have.
Yeah.
Uh, it is a given that you have to be a good lawyer who understands legal principles.
Yeah.
But again, you also have to be able to think like a business person, which you've
Right.
already mentioned. So maybe one of those other things you have to know how to do is, being able to negotiate what is fair or what is beneficial to the two parties.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what
Exactly.
that's what you're trying to get at, right? You want both parties to be happy. You want both parties to feel like they're going to gain something from this deal that they signed, right? And then also sometimes, I mean, you're willing to give up certain things. I think one of the mistake a lot of young lawyers make is like they try to fight every single point. You don't need to fight every single point, even though you can, or maybe even though you might be in a position where, it's advantageous for me to fight for this point. You don't need to fight every point. As long as you're keeping, like, if the core goal of your client, for example, is like, all right, I want to get Serena attached, right? That's the core goal. Give up other things that you might not give up in other deals to get her attached. And you don't need to fight every single thing. You don't need to be in beast mode in every single thing. There's a time for beast mode, but then there's also time like you just roll over and say, okay, we give them this point. And knowing when to do that is definitely a skill that you learn over time. Like I definitely, my first 2 to 3 years of practicing law, I can say like I didn't know what I was doing in those early years. And no lawyer really knows what they're doing. If they tell you like
Exactly.
they
We're
know what
not
they're
just
doing,
winging it.
yeah, exactly. You're winging it. No one knows what they're doing in the beginning. It's learned over time and by seeing different scenarios, negotiating different deals, working with different people and seeing how different people work. You learn, it's a skill you build over time, and you're not going to have it right away. And there should be no frustrations about that when you're a long lawyer. It comes with time.
So do you think your gender in any way, do you think, has it ever mattered in you being a boss lady?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of women who are lawyers, they feel a need that they need to project themselves even more, especially when you're coming into an industry that's dominated by male. And here in the US, race also plays a matter, also plays a role in that matter. So it's like you're a Black female here in US in an industry dominated by white men. I would say probably 85 of my deals that I negotiate, I'm negotiating against white men, right? So right off the bat, I don't come out fighting right off the bat. Like a lot of women feel like they need to grr. But right off the bat, I make it very clear. Like, listen, you are dealing with an experienced lawyer, and don't think that you're just gonna roll over me, right? And once we establish that in the beginning, it's like, okay, cool. We can have a friendly adversarial relationship where my gender or my race doesn't need to play a factor. But if I start to get a hint of that in the beginning, I shut it down.
You shut it down, right? If you get some kind of negative energy.
Yeah.
So do you have any remarkable experience, like for a female lawyer who's tuning in? Do you have any remarkable experience that you'd like to share, and how you were able to surmount, you know, maybe your gender or your race trying to affect your professional relationship?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say there was this one deal that I was negotiating, and I won't give the specific details of it. Because, you know, in this day and age, really a lot of negotiations happen over the phone and over email. It's not like in the old days, right?
Yeah,
so most times people don't really see who they're dealing
no physical contact.
Right? Exactly. But then so I've been dealing with this one particular gentleman for maybe like, I would say 2 or 3 weeks now, over phone and over email. And, you know, so there was one time we set up a call where we had to get all parties, like, you know, let's all get on the same page. And we set up a video conference. And it was the first time.
Wow, finally.
Right. And then after that, I noticed a very, very distinct change in the way he was, you know, behaving towards me. And I picked up the phone. I was like, listen, I don't know what happened. I don't know what the change is, but just listen, like, I don't like the tone that you're taking with me, and understand that you're not going to be dealing with me.
You have to call him.
I called him. Yeah. I called him separately. I pulled him aside. Like, I didn't do it in front of everybody. I was like, but listen, like, this is like, no. Like, you're not going to talk to me anyhow. And he's like, oh, no, I'm sorry. And, you know, sometimes you just have to address it head on. Pull him aside, address it head on, let him know, like, you're not a pushover. You know, so I was a little put off by that. But after that, you know, we had no issues.
Okay, that's a good one.
But you definitely come across that a lot in our industry.
Yeah, and I think in my practice, I've seen cases where I'm going up against very senior lawyers.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the senior lawyers might not be really, really experienced with the negotiation that with the transaction we're trying to conduct. And oftentimes when you're trying to like set them straight in a very respectful manner, you're trying to advise that it's best we approach these issues in a particular way.
Yeah.
Many are quick to just, you know, assume a new posturing, like, oh, I've had it to the point that a senior lawyer was asking me, when were you called? Because he already saw what I looked like. And he was asking me, and I respectfully told him that, sir, I've been doing this for a while, and I understand you are very good with what you do, but I think this is how I've done it over time, and I think it will serve the interest of our clients to try to be civil with this. Let's be respectful. Let's keep it going. Yeah. So for me, I would like to ask you, how best can young lawyers plug into, you know, working with BET, working with Endeavor? You know, a lot of people just they are waiting for that big break to just, you know, have their leg in the door. Remember, you already said earlier on that you didn't land the legal role from the bat, from the jump. You had to, you know, patiently wait till you went for it. So what are the different ways to try to stay plugged in?
Absolutely. Yeah, I come across this all the time. A lot of times young lawyers will reach out to me to say, you know, they're trying to get into industry. And I think a lot of mistake that young lawyers make is that they're thinking they're going to be making the big bucks, right? Right out of law school, they're going to land that big job. Sometimes you have to take low pay roles or internship positions to get your foot in the door, right? There are many companies and many places where they'll offer new attorneys or newly barred attorneys an opportunity to perhaps maybe be a coordinator or a paralegal or an assistant to the lawyer, to the main lawyer in that division. And honestly, if you're offered a role like that, jump at it. try to get those roles that, you know, those supporting roles in the beginning, as long as you're working in an environment where you're able to see how other lawyers are operating and you're learning from them. And if you're in a situation where lawyers are actually trying to help you and give you agreements to draft, even though it's not that role and that pay you want, jump at it, take it. That's how a lot of people really get to where they're really trying to go. And I, like I said earlier, took on that lower role at BET in order to be able to learn and to advance. And I was very, very fortunate to have a boss back then that wanted me to learn. She would send me agreements to draft, and she was extremely tough on me. She's like probably one of the toughest bosses that I've ever had, but I learned so much so that when that role did open up, I was ready to step into it. So sometimes you have to be willing to take a step back, take an internship position, take an assistant position, to learn as much as possible to get that dream job.
So do you think, you mentioned that you had a boss who was really, really invested in you?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So do you think she found like a gem? She found raw gold? Or was it your people skills?
I really think that matching was just like, it was from God. So she was another Black female as well. And I think she saw a little bit of myself in her when she was my age back then. And so she wanted me to succeed in this industry, knowing that this industry can tear you down. So she really took me under her wing, and I was willing to receive that too, right? It was very much a mutual, like, I want to learn, and she was willing to teach me, right? Because sometimes mentorship relationships don't always work, but it really, really worked in that instance, because it takes a lot to mentor someone. It's very time consuming to really teach somebody how to be a lawyer. It's very time consuming, but she invested that in me, and I paid her back by really doing my best. I would stay late every single night to do my day job and also to do the extra work so that I'm learning, and I can sit with her early in the morning, the next morning, and go through my questions, right? So I went above and beyond in order to learn, but it was really an investment in my career that paid off.
That's a great point. Like, you went above and beyond.
Yes.
In trying to establish your connection to what you're trying to do, and also one of the maybe gatekeepers that could easily open up the door for you to come in.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking your boss is in a position to, make your path smoother. For me, I've had relationships with younger lawyers and law students, and I'm able to really, really see from the jump, from the inception, if our relationship would last for a long time. Because I remember my introduction into the entertainment industry, I was very aggressive with learning. So what I usually do is, when a young lawyer, indicates an interest to work with me, wants to come and learn, wants to intern at the office, or a law student, I give them books and I tell them what I expect of them on a regular basis. And you can easily tell when someone is so consumed by the passion to learn, you go over and beyond. And that would be what would make it worth the time of whoever is trying to, show you the path.
Exactly.
Sometimes if I see that you just like it, that, you want to attend the fun parties, you want to be around celebrities, you want to take nice pictures and all of that. Okay, Henry is saying something, I introduced him to blogging, and I gave him books to read. I always do that. And,
that's great.
I think helping to build the mind, to set the mind straight, to show the mind what is possible, is the best way to go. But what I'm trying to say now is, if I'm investing in a young lawyer or in a law student and I'm not getting back the desired results, it will weigh down on me, and I'll be like, because there are many, many opportunities that should come your way if you were doing right by me. If I'm getting all the opportunities, I can't take on all those responsibilities. I need to pass them around to somebody I can trust.
Exactly. That goes such a long way, because when somebody tells me, can you please recommend me for a job, or they know that I know somebody that they're interviewing with, I don't just pass along the resume. because I'm putting my name behind you when I recommend you, I need to know that you're really a hard worker, you're really into it, you're really passionate, because that's a reflection on me, right? So if you're not somebody who's serious, and I'll give you 1 or 2 or 3 chances, but after the third chance, you show that you're not somebody who's serious, you're just not gonna get my time. Everybody's extremely busy. I know you're extremely busy.
There's an interesting comment. Somebody said patience is key. That's Justin is Creative Legal is been engaging with us, and also whenever I complain to my partner that I'm not getting the desired results, because fortunately or unfortunately, I didn't really have a boss who was an expert in entertainment law to sit me down, share his experiences, put me through how to go about this business. I didn't really get that opportunity. So maybe I'm impatient, because maybe by virtue of being an entrepreneur, I believe in just doing the heavy lifting myself most of the time. So what do you say to someone saying patience is key? With young lawyers, you have to be more patient, let them find their reading, take it slowly, and all of that.
So listen, there's a balance there as well, right? If you are in an environment where you are genuinely learning and you're improving every day and you're around people who are invested in you, be patient in that situation. Still be actively looking for the roles as you're learning, but be patient in that situation. Now, if you're in another situation, because not everybody is a great mentor, not everybody is willing to put in the time. If you're in a situation, somebody who's just using you and all you're doing is getting coffee every day, then you need to be impatient in that situation and go find another situation that's serving you. But if you are genuinely learning in a certain situation where you're not necessarily getting the pay you want, take what you can from that. Take the experience from that as you're job hunting, as you're looking for that right role for you. But take the experience, stay in that role, and continue to learn while you're also looking. So it really depends on what type of situation that you're in. If you're in a deadbeat situation, you're not learning anything, then get out, So
amazing, interesting. So what was my really what my major motivation was for being an entertainment lawyer was I had this big dream of being the next R. Kelly, the former R. Kelly.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a superstar singer.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like Wyclef. I wanted to be like Two-Face Idibia. And that was my, that is still like my biggest motivation. And even up until now, I still know that kind of ambition. It is weird, right? But I think
it's not weird.
Through my client, I think I'm past that already, but again, I still think about it. But what I'm trying to say is I live vicariously through my clients. I represent comedians, actors, musicians, although my major interest is in music. So what was your big area of interest that just made you say, oh, entertainment law, this is what I would like to do?
Yeah. Funny enough, when I was in law school and in my earlier career, I was actually more interested in fashion law because I have a fashion background. I have my own clothing. So actually, that was the direction that I wanted to go. But when the entertainment opportunity came to me at BET for me to take a step back in my career and go to BET, and I was like, wow, this is actually a really great industry. And then when I took the job and I started working in it, that's really when my passion developed, right? When I started working in the industry, and it was just great. Like the projects we were working on is great, and I traveled a lot when I was with BET. All those major award shows, we would cover them, so I learned a lot, and I was exposed to.
So you were living the glamorous life.
Yeah, it was great. It was tough. It was tough, but it was great, right? And I was like, wow, this is really the industry that I love. And then when I started here at Endeavor 2 years ago, it really just took my career to the next level because our company, whereas BET has a very singular audience, You know what I mean? So a lot of our focus was singular, whereas here we work with everybody and anybody. And so it's just amazing being exposed to all different aspects of the entertainment industry, having the access to the different parts of the entertainment industry that you can really go to. And then I work in a place where they give you the freedom to really do that. And so I've just been blessed in my career, and I'm very, very grateful for the experiences that I've had.
Great. Thank you very much, Layo. Please, if you have questions, please, we'll be taking questions. I already wrote down a question. If you have questions, please feel free to ask.
Yeah.
And
can I just add one more thing before I get into the questions?
No, I think we still have some questions. I still have some questions myself.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but I want them to start, asking, then I'll write them down. Or you can say what you would like to say.
What I do want to say, what I do definitely want to say is people who really want to get into the entertainment industry and you're a lawyer in Nigeria, keep in mind that what's coming next for Nigeria in the entertainment industry, these streaming companies, they're coming to Nigeria, right? Netflix is already in Nigeria. All his competitors.
Layo is sharing the gospel.
Yeah. All their competitors. Yeah. All their competitors, they're not far behind. So you're looking at Amazon, you're looking at Apple TV, you're looking at Disney Plus. So what you can really do is because when these companies come into a certain region, they look to local expert lawyers to advise them, right? So when our company was in India, we looked at the top firms and the top lawyers in India and we went to them and say, we need advice. So develop expertise on what is distinguished Nigeria in the entertainment industry, because when these companies come, they're going to start looking for lawyers in Nigeria to advise them, right? And when they start working with a particular lawyer or a particular law firm, they like to stick to the same law firm that they've established a relationship with and they've established that they're good lawyers. So that's a good way to get prepared because they're coming. Netflix is in Nigeria. They're looking to develop original stuff in Nigeria. They're going to hire local lawyers to be the production counsel on those projects. So start getting that expertise, start putting yourself out there. If you're a solo practitioner, you work at a law firm, start trying to get those expertise and trying to make those connections, right? Like I now, for example, when we're getting ready, if we're getting ready for a to produce in Nigeria and I need some advice on Nigeria law when it comes to certain things, I'm going to reach out to Akinyemi because I've already established that relationship with him, right? So, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I, as the lawyer, it's my job to find lawyers in local area. We call them local counsel, right? And we have a budget. We create budgets for local counsel. So start getting yourself into that. Start trying to make relationships with lawyers in these companies because they're coming to Nigeria and they're going to need you guys. And once you establish that area, that expertise, they're all going to come to you. Like all the companies, they use the same lawyers in India because they trust them. They use the same lawyers in Indonesia and the same lawyers, in South Africa. So develop that expertise.
So we have like 5 minutes, before we go into the questions, but I'd like to ask, you've appeared in Vogue. Was it Vogue or GQ? Yes. So how easy is it possible to work as hard as you are as you are doing as an entertainment lawyer and at the same time still pursue other business interests like you're doing? How difficult is it possible?
It is tough. It's possible, but it's tough. It is very tough. My weekends are extremely sacred because that's when I have time to dedicate it to my fashion business, right? Because during the week, it's just impossible, right? On a regular day, my job is extremely stressful. So there's just nothing I can do in the week. But during the weekends, I dedicate it to my fashion business. And I will say it's easier for me. Me and my husband don't have kids yet. So it's easier now. And now is the time to do it.
Just to put it out there, she's engaged.
Yes, right. So now is the time to do it. Exactly. If you have that time, if you don't have those extra commitments, do it now and put, set the footprints, lay the foundation now so that when you do, get into other things in your life that takes your time, at least you set the foundation when you did have the time. So, yeah.
Okay, so you advise that lawyers should get prepared that these other global companies are coming to Nigeria.
They're coming.
I understand that you have a master's degree. You know, you have a master's degree in entertainment law, right?
So yeah, so I mean, I specialize in entertainment law based on my experience.
Did you get any certification for that?
No, not LLM. So it's called an LLM here. So I don't have an LLM specifically in entertainment laws, but there are programs in certain law school that they do offer LLMs specifically for entertainment law if anybody's really interested in it. But can I tell you something? Experience is really key. Everything I learned from experience, right? So save your money. Go find an entertainment lawyer that you can work for and you can learn from. That's the best experience.
I absolutely agree. I have friends who studied entertainment law at the master's level in the UK, and today they are not even working in entertainment. So what a waste. If you're going to spend so much on getting an LLM in entertainment law and you. So I like it. I think we already have 2 questions. And please, if you have any question, please ask Layo when you can ask for free. So somebody asked, what is the difference between Nigerian and, the Nigerian laws that govern or oversee entertainment and the American laws? Is there like any major difference per se?
Yeah, so I'm not a Nigerian trained attorney, so I can't speak to Nigerian law, and I don't have that that expertise in Nigerian law, so I can't really speak to that. Which is why when we do go into these regions, we hire lawyers such as yourself to give us, to give us advice. I will say when we are negotiating, like let's say a talent agreement, for example, when we do go into local regions, there's certain key aspects of a talent agreement that we need to get, right? So certain rights that were very important to us to get in a talent agreement, the right to feature that talent in what we call all media worldwide in perpetuity. Those terms are extremely important in our industry. All media meaning I'm going to film you. Number one, you're given the rights to film you. Number two, that filming, that recording, you give him the rights to exhibit it in all media, meaning Netflix, meaning cable, meaning maybe a podcast, meaning audio.
Even other distribution platforms that will come up in the future.
Exactly. Now known or hereafter devised. All media worldwide, meaning I can exhibit that show every region in the world in perpetuity, forever. Those 3 things are highly, highly, highly negotiated in all kinds of entertainment contracts. If you're a big time star, you can say, no, I'm not giving you all media, only streaming platforms. Sometimes they can even get very, very specific, only Netflix. And they can say, no, I'm not giving you a worldwide. No, I'm only giving you this right only in the United States, or only in Nigeria, or only in the African continent. In perpetuity, right? They can say, no, you can't show this forever. It's only for 5 years, only 10 years, only 1 year. So those are highly negotiated. And to get worldwide all media in perpetuity, that's a very expensive right. So if you have big money, you can buy out somebody, right? For all worldwide, all right, in perpetuity. But if you have a limited budget, perhaps you can say, all right, I'm making this show. The main audience are Nigerians. I don't need worldwide rights. So fine, just give me the rights in Nigeria. And you can say, okay, this show is only going to be hot for 1 or 2 years. I don't need to show it forever. Give me 2 years, right? Or you can say, really, I'm really making this show just for Netflix. So I don't need all media. Just give me streaming rights, right? That said, if you're making a show that has value for years and years and years to come, you can say, all right, you know what? I don't have the money now, but in 3 years, we can negotiate in good faith to extend the term. So there's so many different ways you can play with an agreement. You can play with certain terms, but those are the 3 things that we're looking for. And then, yeah.
So Layo, beyond experience, which you've already, you've already highlighted the importance of experience and, mentorship, learning from an experienced mentor. Somebody asked, like, how do we get resources to, try to equip ourselves to build our skills in this space? Do you have any go-to place, you know, where you get your resource materials from? Can you advise? Can you speak to them?
Yeah. Let me tell you, Google is your friend. There's a lot of things on Google. Google is your friend. If you don't have the resources to legal research databases like LexisNexis or FindLaw, some of these other legal databases that are very expensive. That said, honestly, a lot of times when I don't know something, I pick up the phone and I call my colleagues. Building up your network is so important, and having good relationship, which is why I say never burn your bridge in this industry, because somebody might have a very, very, very specific knowledge. I'm like, all right, let me pick up the phone and call this person to try and talk this issue out. So, you know, keeping up good relationship is a really, really good asset to have, and being able to say, all right, you know what, I have this music law question. Let me pick up the phone and, you know, pick Akinyemi's brain really quickly. Now, don't take advantage of that. You know, lawyers got to get paid too.
Exactly.
Right? So you don't want to take advantage of that. But, you know, every now and then tap into your network, really. And honestly, the biggest way to get experience is just to work for somebody who's in this industry. So if you have a firm, or a lawyer that's in this industry, go to them, send them your resume, say, listen, I'm absolutely open to working as an intern for a certain amount of years if you are learning. But make it very clear in the beginning when you reach out to these people, they say, I actually want to draft agreements. I actually want to learn. If that opportunity is available, I'm willing to be an intern. And that's really the best way to get experience.
So I think, you know, for resources, I think the go-to resource is, even myself, I have up to like 100 books spanning my areas of interest in entertainment. So my library keeps getting bigger every year. But what I do for young lawyers is I tell them you have to have like 3-5 books, you know, covering your areas of interest in entertainment law. Also, you should have some blogs that you visit almost every day.
Yeah,
I think there is the Hollywood Reporter is, you know, a very valuable blog. When I was starting, African Music Law was my go-to website or blog. Salutes to Miss Udwak. I don't know if you know Miss Udwak.
No.
Oh yeah, man. She was very instrumental to, you know, building this new wave of entertainment lawyers in Nigeria with her blog, AfricanMusicLaw.com. So also there were Gordon Fireman, like a podcast, a bearded white guy who was always, you know, helping out with a lot of resources for me then. Then also on YouTube, there's a channel called Artists House, where a lot of entertainment lawyers, you know, spoke about different areas of entertainment law. So I think those are other resource materials that people can leverage on. Now, going into the future, like, you know, the world has changed since like January. We've been challenged in a unique, in a special way that we've never experienced before with the global pandemic. Do you think going forward, this would speak to the way we practice law? You know, maybe how would this affect the way we do business as entertainment lawyers?
You know, I will say this pandemic, as what it showed us, is that number one, we can do our jobs from home, right? Because we've been working. I've actually been busier working from home than I have been. I mean, the last couple of weeks has been insane at work, like almost working 24/7. So we can definitely do our jobs from home. However, industry-wide, it's really, really affected our industry because it's brought production to a halt. Now, that said, the reason we've been so busy is because we've been finding new ways to get around this, right? So we've been working round the clock to work on home video and technology that we can send out to clients so that they can actually film from themselves from home, right? And so we've been finding ways where we can connect with people and have them produce certain things for themselves at home, and how we can then bring it together on the back end and edit it and make it a better quality on the back end, and really trying to find ways to limit the footprint of production. That's really, really what we have been finding. And I think moving forward, there's going to be some of that that's going to remain with us, right? So there's not going to be a heavy focus on big crew production anymore, I think, for the foreseeable future. Number one, for health reasons. And number two, you know, it's just adapting to this new reality of trying to keep crowds down. So we're finding ways to limit the crew on set, and limit the size of production, really. So I think that's one of the effects of this virus and how it's going to have some staying power.
Amazing. There's a question for you. I think we succeeded in keeping it under 1 hour. We've touched on so much. I think there's a question. Let me read it to you. From Henry Chestnut. It says, my question is on royalties in the movie studio. Are the talents to collect the same 5% for scriptwriters themselves, or is the Writers Guild, WGA, to collect on their behalf? Same as actors. I think these are like, how do they say this? I'm not really big on movies, but I think these are like back-end streams of
back-end. Yep. Royalty. So like back-end and contingent compensation, which is also known as, is highly negotiated, right? So when you're in the union, when you're dealing with unionized members, so when you're dealing with writers who are WGA members, that's you know, there's certain minimum back end and contingent compensation that they are owed based on I think it's the basic agreement. Working on union program, by the way, is highly specialized. So I don't know a lot of it because it's on the scripted side. But that said, there's some basics that they are owed based on the basic agreement that the WGA enters into, you know, with a lot of these studios. That said, that's a baseline. You can negotiate it a higher back end, right? So if you're actually writing a script and you're developing a script and you're creating a show, you definitely have, and especially if you have a lot of experience, you have the stature to actually negotiate much higher rates than the standard minimums. Right, that goes for any guilds, whether if you're a SAG member, your actor, DGA, whatever. It's just really a baseline. You can negotiate it for much higher back end, especially if you're being paid at a lower rate than what you command, right? Because sometimes people will take a lower pay on the front end and try to really bank on higher, yeah, exactly, because you're banking on higher royalties on the back end, depending on how well the film does. And also, when you're negotiating back end, the back end definition that you are doing is very important, right? Wherever you actually get to recoup in the waterfall is very important. Are you recouping off the top, or are you recouping as a net proceeds after everybody else and all other things have been paid and you're left with nothing, right? Yeah. So negotiating your waterfall is extremely important. Right? There's certain customary off the tops that are taken out before people are paid, right? The cost of production, obviously, that needs to be paid back and all those things. But then after that, you need to fight for your place in the waterfall, and you want it to be as high as possible. And that is something that's highly negotiated. A lot of studios will try to, you know, play some tricks here and there, play with the net proceeds, so you're really getting nothing. So it's really important to have a lawyer negotiating your back end and the back end definition for you.
Amazing, man. Layo, we've done a great job at trying to unpack in 1 hour all these many areas of interest. And I believe those who have tuned in, you know, we must have caused a mind shift. If we've done a good job, please, can you help me with a thumbs up, you know, just to show appreciation to Layo.
Thank you. Layo, thank you. And I also want to say thank you to Akinyemi. You create such a platform and an avenue really for people who are trying to get into this industry. You're such an advocate, you know, for lawyers, for entertainment lawyers. So a huge, huge thank you to you. You're doing something amazing in our industry, and I'm so grateful to be able to call you a colleague. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. My head is
it's true. It's all true.
Thank you very much, Layo. So in closing, when you are not dressed as a super lawyer, you know, and talking up this big game that you back up with your actions, what do you do for fun? And how best can we connect with you, really?
You know, I'm so boring. I really am.
Oh, no, you're not.
Really a good chill day for me is just like chilling, watching Netflix with like my husband. That's like
Oh,
it. Like
man.
we watch a lot of TV. I consume a lot of TV. Obviously, I'm in this
Because,
industry.
yeah.
I watch a lot of TV. I love watching everything and anything. Right now, I'm currently obsessed with 90 Day Fiance. I don't know if you guys are getting it there, but it is just pure
I'm
comedy.
yet to see it. I'm yet to see it. It's been trending on Twitter for a bit.
It's hilarious.
Yes.
It's like, and you know what it is? So I have a love-hate relationship with 90 Day Fiance because, you know, it's portraying Nigerians in a certain way when I really want people to know, like, there's so many different types of Nigerians and we represent so many different, you know, types of people, but it's a singular kind of way we're being portrayed, but it's still really good TV. If you guys can watch it, it's hilarious.
What's the title of the show?
90 Day Fiance.
90. Oh, currently... no. Everybody in Nigeria knows that. If you're on social media, obviously you know the story.
Yes.
It's an interesting show. So thanks, Layo. I appreciate you. I'll definitely keep in touch. If we ever need to do this again, or if you ever need me to be live, I'll be there, man. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Also,
and thanks to everyone who joined.
Exactly. I'd like to thank everyone who joined us. I would like to shout out to two of my amazing interns who joined. Adeshewa is an amazing intern. She's very good with what she does for me, and I believe she has a bright future ahead of her. Ayinoluwa, they actually prepared some of these questions that I'm asking. So I'm grateful for they show a lot of interest in this, and they want to know what you think about all these questions I asked. So they've been very, very valuable to me and the firm. So thank you to Justin Ige. He's a senior colleague. He is a litigator. He also understands the business a lot. He's also actively involved with the administration of the Collecting Society in Nigeria. Also, we have official Stallion tuning from Abuja.
Thank you.
K. I think she works in an entertainment law firm. Timi Adeyeba, Amplify Africa, they do an amazing job. You know, Amplify Africa, they do an amazing job, you know, amplifying our culture and in the Yankee.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in, and many other people. I'm appreciative. Thank you. So I look forward to doing more of this. Thank you everybody who supported. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
God bless
you too. Thank you. Bye everyone.
Bye. Bye.